Hi there, I'm Mike, and what I have for you today is Star Wars The Black Series Bodhi Rook. Looky looky, I got Rookie. Or looky looky, I got Bodhi. There's a hook joke in there somewhere, you get it. Anyways, go ahead and take a look at him while I read the bio on the back of the box. A former Imperial pilot, Bodhi has strong piloting and technical skills that he will put to use for the rebellion. Ever practical but highly anxious, Bodhi must gather his courage to bring the battle to the Empire. Here we have him out of the box. Bodhi Rook is played by Riz Ahmed in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It's fitting that I'm doing this on or around, mostly after, the 5th anniversary of the movie that came out in 2016. Bodhi is the final member to join the main team in Rogue One in the movie, and he's the one who actually gave the team and the movie its name.
What's your call sign, pilot?
Say something.
Rogue? Rogue One.
But if that's not important enough for you, Bodhi also worked with Galen Erso to deliver his message about the sabotaged Death Star to Saw Gerrera and eventually Galen's daughter Jyn.
Poor Gullet. Poor Gullet? Poor Gullet will know the truth.
After Jyn rescues Bodhi from Saw because, Saw is a lunatic terrorist, Bodhi joins up and stays with them as their pilot until ultimately sacrificing himself on Scarif to help give vital information to the rebel fleet.
They found the Death Star plans. They have to transmit them from the communications tower. You have to take down the shield gate. It's the only way they're gonna get them through.
Thus, also making him a vital reason that the rebels were able to steal the plans and set off the entire original trilogy. Bodhi, we hardly knew ye. So let's get a closer look at him, what he comes with, and how he moves. So let's talk about the looks and likeness for a bit. Firstly, getting this out of the way, the likeness to Riz Ahmed is spot on. The digital face printing here looks incredible. The texture of his beard looks great, as does his slicked back hair and ponytail. He really only wears this one outfit in the movie, and I do wish that his vest, while it's great, I wish it were removable. He doesn't wear this the whole movie, and it would be cool to have the choice to either display him with or without it. I mean, you may be able to remove it with some boiling and popping, but that's a lot of effort and way more work than you should have to do. Similarly, you may have noticed that I haven't really talked about his goggles. He does wear them, but like his vest, they are not removable. They're glued onto his head, and the band for them is permanently part of the sculpt. And as great as this looks, I just wish we had the choice of displaying him with or without it instead of always with it. But other than that, if you like this look, it really looks good. Spot on. Honestly, when it comes down to the figure itself, there's not a lot not to like about the figure, other than he's literally just a guy in a jumpsuit that's kind of boring. He does have all new parts never used by anyone before, which is nice. And this look makes him look kind of like a Ghostbuster. Bodhi and Baze would have both made a good half of a Ghostbusters team. Now I wonder who else could be on their team with them. So anyways, I already mentioned the spot-on sculpted likeness to Riz Ahmed, but the goggles are actually pretty incredible when you look at them. The translucent material is great, and there's even some small paint apps on the straps and the goggles attached to them to make it look like the goggles are attached to the straps. The only downside is on both sides, there are very microscopic bits that the paint did not hit when they did the face printing. To be completely transparent, I didn't even notice the missing paint on the head in this review until I looked at it through the lens of my camera with the zoom lens on. It's really hard to tell when you're just looking at the figure with your eyeballs. It does stand out when you're looking at it on camera like this. Moving down, most of his outfit is just molded in solid plastic. There are a lot of details molded into the plastic, the normal folds, lines, and creases that go into clothes. But what little paint he actually has pretty sharp paint apps for. Being an Imperial defector, he has a sharply painted Imperial logo on both shoulders. On his left arm, he has paint on the molded canisters in his little pockets. I always thought these were fancy pens, but in Rebels, it turns out they're keys. He also has some sort of control panel or communicator painted on his sleeve. On the jacket vest thing, it's a separate piece molded in soft rubber. There are a lot of pockets and pouches molded onto this thing. There's also a few paint apps here on the buckle and this long thing right here, whatever that is. And he also has like a stopwatch up here? Anyways, it's all painted and it looks nice. The rest of him from the waist down is just molded plastic. The pants look great and the new knees make the joints disappear into the folds, making them practically invisible. And I also really like his shoes. So I've talked about some of the things that aren't accessories that should be, like the vest and goggles, but he does come with a few accessories. First, he comes with a standard DH-17 blaster that the Rebel Alliance uses. It's molded in this dark gray plastic, not black, and it is lacking any and all paint. But it's the same blaster we've seen a few times in the line. Funny thing is, I don't think he ever actually used the blaster in the movie at all. Like even once. But I'm honestly not complaining, I'm actually glad he comes with it because his other accessory is something he used and it's kind of boring. His backpack is actually a few pieces that come together to give him a movie-accurate recreation of the hose connection thing that he uses at the end of the movie. You can see the connection come out of the side here and it actually clips into this little holster on the backpack itself. The nozzle itself is molded in one solid piece of plastic and attached to a string that winds up into a drum in the backpack. Truthfully, it is a pain in the ass to wind it back up if it's unwound, or if you just took it out of the package, because that's the only time I've ever unraveled it. I complain a little, but honestly, this is an accessory that I'd be pissed if he didn't come with, and Hasbro did a pretty good job of recreating it. It slips around his shoulders pretty easily, and it doesn't make him back heavy. So he doesn't really have a problem with falling over at all, which is nice. It also has a few paint apps on the back, which look great. And that's it. Other than the wish that his goggles and vest are removable, I can't really think of anything else I wish he'd come with that he doesn't. Other than, of course, the normal extra hands for general posing, but I always wish that, and Hasbro rarely obliges. So now let's move to the articulation and see how Bodhi gets down. His head is on a ball joint at the base of the neck. It gives it a nice swivel, side to side. It moves forward this far and back this far, and that has also helped with the ball joint at the base of his neck. He does have butterfly joints at his shoulders, an elbow bend that bends way more than 90 degrees, and then also a swivel. And of course his wrist has a swivel and a hinge. This wrist hinges this way. He has a torso joint that allows for enough movement. It's not hindered by the vest, which is nice. His leg moves out this far, back kind of far. He has a single jointed knee, as well as a swivel at the knee. Also a swivel at the thigh. He has a hinge at the ankle and a rocker, with this being Bodhi's widest stance with both his feet flat on the ground. Being an all new figure with all new parts, Bodhi has all the new articulation you would expect. You can always tell if a figure is new, or at least if the legs are new, by the knees. The knees are the dead giveaway. But it's not just knees. The head has the enhanced double ball joints to give him a more expressive head movement, and he has the deep cut at his elbows for way more than 90-degree bends. He also has the butterfly joints, which honestly he doesn't really need, but I'm not complaining. Because of all this, Bodhi can pull off some decent action shots, but more importantly to me, and I know this sounds weird, he could just look natural standing still. A lot of older Black Series figures have issues of looking natural. Usually their arms and legs just don't look right in a natural pose. The arms usually don't lay flat against the bodies like a normal person's would. Bodhi doesn't have this problem, and that's exactly what I want to see. So here's the part where we talk about the want and availability. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, Bodhi here has been on pretty much every top 10 most wanted figure list I've ever made. So I've very much been looking forward to getting him. Granted, that's mostly just so that I can complete my Rogue One crew and take him off the list, thus freeing up a spot. But to be fair, we've had a Bodhi-shaped hole in our collection since 2016. It's way past time we got him. When Hasbro announced Bodhi, along with their re-releases of the updated Rogue One figures, I was very excited. Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and while Bodhi isn't even close to being my favorite character in the movie, he was the only character from the main squad that we were missing. I know Rogue One wasn't everyone's cup of tea, and the Rogue One figures famously peg-warmed hard, and frankly, they almost killed the line. I still see Jins and Cassians sitting on the shelves, but having all but one of the team just made the Bodhi-shaped hole that much more noticeable. Just like the Rebels wave that Hasbro introduced in 2020, Bodhi and the rest of his Rogue One team are fan channel exclusive, and they're shipped in solid cases of the same figure, meaning that you're likely to see multiples of the same character on shelves if you're in a store that physically carries fan channel exclusives, like GameStop, or weirdly enough, Barnes & Noble, or just, your local comic shop, I guess. Fan channel is my favorite avenue to release figures, and I think it's a perfect way to release figures that may not be super popular with the majority of collectors. So he's really not that hard to find, and that's great. And that brings us to the conclusion of my review, where I give Bodhi here a score. I've settled on a 4 out of 5. Or if you want, an 8 out of 10 if you prefer out of 10 for some reason. He's not perfect, but none of his flaws are major enough that I wouldn't recommend him. And I do. I mean, it's probably likely you've already decided if you do or don't want him, and there's probably no changing your mind. But I'm gonna try to spread some Bodhi love. I mean, sure, visually, Bodhi's kind of boring, and if you don't have a Rogue One team to fill out, there's really not a reason to get him. But he could be useful to fill out an Imperial ground crew, I guess. But outside of that, he's not quite as interesting as a random alien, he's definitely not as interesting as a Jedi, and he doesn't even look like a cool bounty hunter to fill out a cantina scene. He's just a guy in a jumpsuit asking you to love him. And personally, that's all I need him to be. Just keep Borg Gullet away from him. He's had enough. Now that we've had the full main team, I really hope Hasbro looks at the other amazing characters, and especially aliens from Rogue One. Come on, Hasbro, give us Edrio 2 tubes, you cowards. And that's it for my Bodhi Rook review. Let me know down the downstairs area. Did you get him? Or were you waiting for a review on him before you decided to get him? Did this sway you? I really love to read all of the comments. Also, I'd love to take a moment and thank these people here for supporting me on Patreon at a Black Series level or higher. It means a lot to me that you guys are here to support the channel, and I hope that, you're happy being here as well. If you want to see your name on this list, you can head over to my Patreon and check it out. If you'd rather not, there's a YouTube membership you can join that's a little bit less expensive, and that does help out the channel as well. And then again, just liking, sharing, and subscribing, that also helps out the channel. At the very least, thank you for getting this far, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.